is,
It's like a Cinderella story. Instead of losing my slipper, I almost got hit by a car.
Adam Newell, creator of Up and Adam, has drawn millions of views with his upbeat, drama-free take on Bravo's biggest stars. He and his husband, Jason, a former Cirque du Soleil performer, turned a Pride weekend meeting into 11 years of marriage and a thriving media brand.
Welcome to the HelloPrenup podcast, Adam and Jason. Wind it back to the beginning. Where did you meet?
Oh, I don't know if you like when I tell this story.
I don't. Honestly, it's not a favorable story for me. But
I mean, it
ahead.
is. I mean, I found my best friend, so I guess I can say that.
Okay. So the end game of it is fun, but here, I'll just give it to you in a nutshell.
Okay.
I was working for Lisa Vanderpump at SUR, where they were filming Vanderpump Rules. And they were filming season 2. It was my first gay pride. And I worked that morning, and I went to the last Danity Kane concert that was in West Hollywood, right?
Loved Danity Kane.
Oh my gosh.
Back in the day.
So good.
It was the first concert that I've ever been to in my life, and the last. I ran on stage. My friend had to flash the security guard to get us behind the scenes. I run on stage and I grab the mic and I think that I'm like emceeing this whole concert at 20 years old. Get kicked out of the concert. So I was like, oh, well, where can I go at 20 years old and drink? So I went to Pump because they knew me. Run into this guy.
Introduces himself to me 8 times.
8 times?
I'm just having a drink, because pride can get crazy, right? So like, I'm like, I don't really want to.
There's a lot of alcohol involved
There's
in
a
this
lot.
story.
Yeah. And I was working that day, and I was just meeting my roommate for a drink, and nothing. And stumbles in this guy, and he's like, "I'm Zan," and I'm like, "Okay."
No.
so, by the end of it, anyway. What do I say? Can I just tell the story?
Oh yeah, don't go back.
Everyone leaves. He's with everyone from the show, and all of our friends now they're our friends, and they all just like leave him. And he's like walking out. I'm walking out with my roommate, and he stumbles in front of a car. And I'm like, oh, no one is helping this guy. And my roommate goes, no. And I'm like, come on. Like, I have a heart, Like, I don't want to leave this guy stranded here. So we took him home, put him on our couch. And then I drove him back. I think you were staying at Sheena's house or something. So I drove you back home. And then you're like, you know what? I should get your number. I'm like, it's in your phone. You got it 8 times like last night,
Yeah.
We've been together every day since.
Yeah.
So, it's very serendipitous.
It's like a Cinderella story. It's like instead of losing my slipper, I almost got hit by a car. You know what I mean?
Never how I would imagine I would meet my life partner.
Yeah.
So, that's a good story for people who think they don't have hope.
Aside from this podcast, though, we probably should doctor that a little bit. Like give a little like.
Yeah, we usually skip details.
Yeah. No. The details make it special and totally relatable too, in kind of a crazy way.
I mean, but here we are.
Good times.
Oh my gosh! Thank you for sharing that. How did you get started together in content creation for all things Bravo?
Oh, can I take this one? All right. So I went to school for communications. I went to Chattanooga State Technical Community College, and it was because my parents pulled me out of high school from Florida the last week before I graduated to move to a different school in Tennessee. So that totally it was like all of the scholarships and everything that I would have been able to get or funding for state was, like null and void. Right? Is that what they say?
Yeah, you're no longer eligible.
No longer eligible. And so I went to Tennessee, and then I got into this community college, and I met one of MTV's teen moms who was also going to school with me. Her name is Macy Bookout. And from there, we were doing the same major, communications, and I had an internship, opportunity with E! Entertainment in Los Angeles, but they needed an interview. So she let me do a big interview after the end of her MTV season that I think it was Dr. Phil or somebody was supposed to get. I don't know. And not Dr. Phil, it's Dr. Drew. And sorry, a lot of doctors. And so we ended up, from that point, I moved to Los Angeles, did an internship. Oh, this goes roundabout. I was hit on the head with a 13-pound door hinge. What was the question?
How'd you get started in
How'd you get started in Bravo and content creation?
So then I started working with Lisa Vanderpump, and for Lisa Vanderpump, met Jason, and then the pandemic hit. And when the pandemic hit, we didn't know what to do. You know, we were in Los Angeles. We were both very used to nightlife, and somebody approached Jason with an opportunity to do a podcast about Cirque du Soleil, and I got jealous. That's what happened. That's like the truth. Like, two dudes, a lot of testosterone, a gay couple. I was jealous. I was like, I was seeing what he was doing. People were loving the fact that he was talking about Cirque, and I'm like, I went to school for this. You don't even know what you're doing. You know how to do cartwheels, not talk. You know. So after that, we were walking one day, and I said, I want to start a YouTube channel called Up and Atom. And he's like, I don't know. And then we did it.
I said, if you're going to do it and you're going to commit to it, you have to, like, we got to go all the way.
Yeah.
So we started researching. There actually wasn't, just to throw you a compliment, there wasn't a lot of Bravo content creators.
There was none.
There was like 90 Day Fiance ones. No one was covering Bravo back then. So like when you came on the scene, you know, it was different. It was cool. And he literally made me put my foot in my mouth. I was like, I see an opportunity, you know. He's positive and fun, and a lot of the shows and a lot of the content creators are sometimes negative, you know, and just want to trash people. And I said, there's space for this, there's room for this. So how do we make it a business, and how do we brand it? So that's kind of how we work together on it.
And just to kind of like piggyback off of that too, just because like I love business and I love like finances and really just money, right? So like the whole goal of it was like to have fun. My dad always told me, like, growing up, son, he's very Southern, son, work is called work. If it was fun, it'd be called fun. And I'm like, no, Dad, I'm going to prove you wrong. And so I Googled, what does it take to really monetize on YouTube, right? So you need 1,000 subscribers, you need 10,000 watch hours. And if you go through what the algorithm on Google says, it almost sounds like it's like near impossible to make any money. And so what I did was I reached out to 10 different Bravo celebrities. Caroline Stanberry from The Real Housewives of Dubai was my first. I love her.
And you were her first interview on her podcast.
Yeah.
Really?
We love her. Yeah. We're great friends to this day. And so I started with 10 interviews before I even, you know, created the channel, and then I dropped them periodically. And then from there, I just got so many more. And after 2 months, I monetized, right?
Yeah.
And then after 2.5 months on YouTube, we were making more money combined than what we were making working for Lisa Vanderpump. So it happened so quick. And then it was like a runaway train. There were opportunities. There were just like a blessing.
How did you decide to go from the Cirque podcast to working together? Because this was Adam's idea.
Yeah, well, the Cirque podcast was just a mini series. It was the same thing. It was, I interviewed people I used to perform with, and, you know, people behind the scenes who did lighting and sound, singers and stuff like that. And so it was like a mini series, and I learned a lot like doing it. You know, it was a lot of fun. But then when I saw what was happening, I'm like, this is great. Like, we can make this work. So we just started building from there. Like, every day we were learning something new. Mm-hmm. I can't even tell you how many microphones, cameras. He used to have his computer on a cat tower in our living room, and we would be doing live streams, and then we had to learn what a live stream was and how to run that.
I would tape my notes on the top of the cat tower, and I would put the cat tower on top of a bar stool in front of me. And we tried filming with GoPros, everything. Oh, it was so embarrassing.
Horrible.
Yeah, horrible. But you know, what a lot of people don't know too about YouTube and content creating, and it's funny because we have friends who ask us for advice all the time. They're like, we don't like what we're doing. We would love to kind of be doing what you guys are doing. And it's like, I'm like telling them the algorithm, how to do everything. And it's like falling on deaf ears. I'm like, what's different about what we do with Bravo and like the celebrity world is there's over 200 Bravo celebrities. We're also in the pop culture world. There's divorces, DUIs, marriages, you know, like custody battles. Like, we don't run out of content. And so the difference between what I was doing on Up and Atom for YouTube and what he was doing on the podcast was eventually it does come to sort of an end where he's talking to people about their stories in Cirque du Soleil, like getting into it and where they came from and what they're doing. And at a certain point, once you do like 20, 30, 40 of those, the stories start blending, you know? So it's almost like the same story, different person a little bit, about just like how you came from like not the best place and you're trying, and, you know, so it was so entertaining, but you do kind of like run out of content.
You hit a wall. Like there's only so many singers. There's only so many, you know, lighting, sound, PTs, stuff like that. But then the stories become a little redundant. It's kind of like, okay, we get it, you know? But that's why we try to...
That sounds so rude, but yeah.
No, not in a bad way, you know, but it's like the same... Like, my story is the same as, like, my friend's story of getting in at the audition process. It's a good story to tell once and do it the right way with the right person, but to keep, you know, talking about it can get redundant.
And there's nothing redundant about an OC housewife getting drunk, forgetting her phone, and slamming her car into a house and then pretending to walk her dog like nothing happened. So... we don't get redundant over on the YouTube channel.
It keeps it interesting.
Yeah.
They keep it interesting.
Yeah.
What was it like when you started to monetize and now you both leave your jobs with Vanderpump, you're full-time all in this? Like, how does that change your relationship dynamic?
Whoa, big time. You know, we've always worked together, you know, but I think sometimes we had different ideas, and I think this is why we mesh and work really well on this, because I always try to pay attention to the brand, the community, building, and he's very much so like, you know, getting the stories out, making sure we kind of balance each other when it comes to that.
I'm quantity, you're quality.
Yeah, but we had to figure that out along the way. We had to figure out, okay, like, what do I do? How do I fit into this? What does he do? How does he fit into this? But when we saw the potential for it and we could actually have fun and we could build a life that we actually want, then that's when it became like really, really serious.
But you know, it wasn't easy, by the way. So for anybody who's listening to this or watching it, it was not easy. We butt heads like insanely, because I would feel like I was doing something right and I would be so proud of myself and I would see numbers, and then he would come in and literally there were no like, what is it? I think it's like accolades or whatever. Like there were no like, oh my God, you did amazing, sweetie. You're doing great. Like no Kris Jenner over here. It was more like, do you know what you could have done better? And you know,
it wasn't like that.
Maybe it is like Kris Jenner.
Yeah. Well, you know, he was prepped in a different way though, with like the athletic world, because his dad used to tell him, if somebody's doing 100 push-ups, you could be doing 101. Right? So
there's always someone waiting in the wings.
There's always somebody waiting in the wings, right? And so for me, that was the learning curve, was you're not criticizing me to be an a-hole. You're criticizing me so we can have longevity and to make this better. And that was such a power dynamic for us, I think, because they say that people change like 3 times in their 20s or something like that, like as you grow. And I met Jason when I was 20, he was 30. And I think I truly, in my adulthood, grew up with Jason. And at first, I just thought that he was so much older than me, and everything he said, I really leaned into, and I thought it was so cool. And, you know, eventually I kind of formed my own opinions and became my own adult. And so I did give a little bit of pushback, because I was like, no, I also have my own thoughts and stuff. And sometimes I had to sort of compartmentalize when I was just being reluctant to his advice and stuff just because I wanted to, you know, and to give pushback, or when I actually believed what I was saying. And that took about 1.5 years. It was a journey for us.
But it also took a while for me to learn too. And I think this has actually helped our relationship in the long run, because it took me a while to recognize, like, he's right sometimes. You know, he does know his audience. He does know what he's doing. I can't do what he does, you know? So it's kind of like a learning curve on both ends. And I think it's actually made our relationship stronger.
Is that on tape? I'm putting that on social media.
What?
That's great. Just that.
You're right.
That I'm right sometimes, yeah.
Said it twice.
Yeah.
I think that's oftentimes a challenge for couples, is communication. You come from 2 different spaces. You may have grown up differently. Like you were saying, your father spoke to you very differently than you experienced. In learning to mesh that communication and really understand each other, I feel like that's where the bond in a relationship really grows. So I'd love to hear a little bit more about how you grew up. Adam, would you like to start?
Oi. Okay. well, guys, I don't know how much time we have, but no, long story short, my parents have collectively been married over 11 times. Between both of them, as far as like step siblings and half siblings, I don't have any full. I've had over 15, and I went to 13 different schools. Like, we just moved a lot. It was always, everybody thought we were a military family, but I'm like, no, my parents are just getting divorced again. So we're getting away from this crazy one and going to another one. But yeah, I grew up between Florida and Tennessee, and I am the only gay one in my family. So my family's like super, a little Southern, would you say? Yeah. I was born in West Palm Beach, Florida, and then we moved close to Chattanooga, Tennessee, back and forth and all over Palm Beach County. But at the end of the day, like, I was kind of like, what is it? They call it like the black sheep of the family. I would sit there, and I don't know how my parents didn't know. My mom didn't know that I was gay. They would pick me up from school. My mom would bring me People magazine. We would go home and watch The Simple Life with Paris and Nicole.
I loved it.
And yeah, and do all of those things, you know. And then finally, my dad asked me, he said, well, what do you want to do one day? He's like, how about doing what I do? Because he works for AT&T and he climbs telephone poles. And I was like, over my dead body will I be doing that? I was like, I'm going to be on TV. And he's like, son, that's unrealistic. And then I was like, okay. He said, all I ask is that you go to college. That's when I went to college. And after that, I had a Ford Fusion. I attached a U-Haul to it. And I drove across the country from Tennessee to LA with $2,500 in my bank account and got this apartment. And I was sleeping in my car while I brought my friend and my brother. They had the bedrooms and I was sleeping in the car. And yeah, it was a lot of just like wanting to, I knew I was different, if that makes sense. You know, like, I did not blend in with the family. Even to this day, as much as I love all of them, like, when we get together, it is like this. And I don't, like, nothing hits, like, nothing resonates. We don't care about the same things. Like, anything that I'm doing is so stupid, usually. And it's just like, for example, let me give you an example. When Jason and I got married, we received one wedding gift, right? And mind you, we got married at the courthouse. It was just very quick. I didn't want like a big wedding because I didn't want my family and stuff to be there. And the one gift that we got was from Paris Hilton. And it was like this whole box of course, Paris Hilton products, which was so sweet still. At least somebody sent something. And I called my family and I was like, how cool is this? Like, can you believe? And they're like, to be honest with you, like, nothing surprises us about you guys anymore. So, like, sure, it's cool, but, like, really, who cares? And I was like, oh, okay. Well, never mind. I'll talk to Jason about it.
What was it like growing up in a family where there was so much upheaval with all of the moving and divorces and remarriages?
You know what's so funny is I have, like, a running joke in our family with the rest of, like, the cousins and stuff. All of my cousins are so smart, and they're going to, like, big universities, and they have, like, 4.5 GPAs, and they're brilliant, right? But when you talk to them, it's like I feel like sometimes I'm, like, talking to a wall. And I think the way I grew up versus the way they grew up, me going to 13 different schools, I didn't make a whole lot of friends because I always knew that, like, I was like a bad Carrie Underwood song, like, this is my temporary home. And I knew that I was going to be going on to the next, so I didn't want to bond with people. And I was always in survival mode. So when I would get, like, a new stepmom or somebody would come into our lives, come into the home and be like, you know, like, we're going to be a family and I'm so excited and I love your dad. And I'd be like, look, honey, you got about 2 years. My bedroom's on the 3rd floor, first door to the right. My chores aren't changing. Dad has my bedtime at 9:45. Don't add anything to my plate. And, like, let's enjoy, like, the next 2 years. But I became very kind of like, I don't know if it's street smart or what, but I was always like a survivalist. And that's one of the things that I envy about Jason's upbringing, even though he had a hard upbringing too because his father had cancer. But his family really strived to keep him in sports and keep him very regimented and structured. And I'm like, I couldn't even imagine what that life would have been like because I was always expecting like waking up, what is the next move?
You know, though, that this is part of the reason that we just get on. This is why I'm attracted to Adam, because he's a survivor of all of these things, right? You know, he's always in survival mode. He always has an answer, and no is never an answer. So we will figure it out. We'll find a way to do it, and I think that makes it fun. You know, it makes it fun. So
Yeah.
all of that led to I don't know, you making really amazing decisions. You know.
And you do give me a lot of pushback for sure, but
Absolutely.
sometimes
I'm not a yes man. We got to keep it. We got to keep it real.
Sometimes I think I'm sneaky too, and I try doing it anyways. And he'll message me, and I'll do something, and I'll go and I'll be like, "Do you need like a smoothie or something?" And I'll leave, and 3 minutes later, he's like, "Really? Didn't we just have this conversation? You pulled the plug without me?" And I'm like, "Oh, sorry," but you know, it's okay. You're on your stuff, and so am I.
How do you think that experience growing up informed your communication style?
What's wild is I think, one, I can have a conversation with anyone. I so easily am like ready and available to just talk about whatever. And when somebody has feelings, like Jason kind of laughs and jokes and calls me the housewife whisperer, because literally every day I receive so many calls, whether it's Salt Lake, Beverly Hills, Orange County, New York, Miami, and people are just like throwing their problems on me, and I'm walking them through it, and I'm like, you shouldn't deal with this because of this or whatever. And we'll get off the phone and he'll give me a compliment and say, I'm so impressed with the way that you are sharing that message, and like, who are you?
Yeah.
And
Some of these conversations are wild.
Yeah.
Like, wild. And then he has these, like, really poignant things that he says. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Like, where did that come from? You know, but he's also relatable. And I think that, you know, this is a real thing. People go through divorces all the time. People have step siblings all the time. I think with the housewives, it's relatable as well. And you just have a way of communicating with people that I can't do it. I'm like in my shell. And it takes me a while to like open up and like get to know people, and I don't really offer advice, you know. But he's like so good at just like, you want to talk to Adam, but you don't know why, and then you start spilling all of your things to Adam, which we keep off the YouTube channel.
Yeah,
thank God.
yeah.
You know, and it's wild.
I can keep a secret.
It's really wild.
No, and I think that the reason that the housewives call it's like because I still have like that 2% of like crazy in my bones, and I think that that's how I relate to them. But truly, I think that the way that I grew up, it just made me be able to relate to everyone in so many different ways, and also I am constantly exercising like just compassion and understanding and trying to figure out where somebody's coming from, and not just like judging them for that, but like really, where is it deriving from? Why are you this way? And it intrigues me. So I think when you're interested in something, it's like, you know, for you, like starting a business that you're passionate about, when you're passionate or interested, it doesn't feel like work. It just feels like you're in it, you know? And that's what this is for me.
How about for you, Jason? How did you grow up?
I grew up very structured. I think, you know, I come from a very religious family. Half my family was Mormon. I was raised Mormon. Half my family was Jewish on my dad's side. And my grandfather was a general in the Army, so it was very structured, and I loved it. I loved, you know, every Saturday we would have a meal at the house, and you had to be sitting down at 5 o'clock. If you were not sitting down at 5 o'clock with a collared shirt, a belt, good shoes, you were dismissed until 8 o'clock, until everyone was done with dinner. And from 5 to 5:15, we would talk, and he'd have his bourbon, and 5 to 5:15 dinner was served. It was like very much like that kind of thing, and I loved it because as a gay kid, I'm like, I have my belt chosen out, I have my shirt, I know I'm gonna look better than all my cousins, you know what I mean? And
Priorities.
My grandfather is like my hero. He instilled things in me, you know, making your bed in the morning, like just, you know, I have to get certain things done during the day. It's just like those habits that like stick with you. But also on my mom's side too, they were very conservative. So I think something that Adam and I share is we're the first in our families to like come out, you know. Now everybody in my family's gay. And they act like it's so hard. I'm like, I opened the door.
No,
you know what I mean?
No, they're not.
Yes, they are.
No, they're not.
My brother, my cousins, I'm like, you know, and they're like, oh, this is so hard. I'm like, no, I did it. You know, like, I did it. But
The trailblazer.
it was, you know, that was like a big moment, you know, because I wasn't expecting so much support, you know. And then, you know, right after I came out, I'm like, going to the circus, joining Cirque du Soleil. Like, I'm out of here. So I don't know. I grew up and I had to be at practice at a certain time. You know, I went to school for 4 hours and just did main classes and skipped PE, went straight to the gym. I was at the gym all day. And it kept me out of a lot of trouble. It kept me out of a lot of situations I probably wouldn't, you know, would have to be in. But my parents were together until my dad passed. They were together for a very long time and only married once. So, you know, we had a difference of opinion when it came to marriage because I always wanted the partner. I wanted the husband, you know. And Adam's like, I'm never getting married. That's never happening.
You know? Well, to piggyback off of that too, because I'm doing a lot of piggybacking today, just to give you like this insane difference between the two of us. He's saying how regimented, right? How structured. 5:15, my bourbon, and then 5:15, which
Love
is
it.
like, love it. And
Love
then he
it.
gets to wear his best gay belt, you know, like amazing. But like my first time ever having to go to like a county jail or anything like that, like I was 13 and like my stepmom used to like torture me. So I went with a friend and she had a really bad home life, and it was the opening of our Walmart in our small town that was only 3 miles long. And we went to the camping section, got a tent, pitched it in the garden section, and tried staying the night. We both lied to our parents and said that we were staying at the other person's house. I think we saw this on a Lifetime movie. And then we ended up having to go sit in like a holding cell waiting for our parents that night because we got in trouble for it. They had a town like curfew and stuff. And so I used to like run around the streets, whatever, and just doing whatever I wanted and kind of trying to survive. And he really had just such a structured, kind of like the outline that you sent us with like the podcast and stuff. Like it's just very structured and it's very to the point, and it's great.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
it. I love structure. I don't know why. You know, when I was in gymnastics growing up, I had a Ukrainian coach, you know, like fresh over from Ukraine, didn't speak much English. The best, another hero of mine, a really great coach. You know, when I walked into the gym, I had to go shake every coach's hand before him in the gym. It was just that respect, you know, that structure. I lived for it. I loved it. And I think that's kind of like business-wise. I try to keep things structured.
Yeah,
You know?
that's true.
Because you go a little...
And coming from a military family and coming from a Southern family, how was that coming out? Was what you said you felt really supported? Did you feel supported as well?
Did you feel supported?
Not... I actually wrote my mom a letter because I knew she would take it the worst. And my brother was going through some things, and I was living in New York at the time. And she's like, hey, you need to come home and like help your brother out. So I was like, oh yeah, come down. So I came down. She's like, my dad was picking me up at the train station. And she goes, by the way, you know, I told your dad was gay, or that you were gay because I just don't want the secrets, you know? And I'm like, so now I'm like, my heart is like this, you know what I mean? Like he's picking me up, and the whole ride, it was just like quiet. And then the whole trip was quiet. And then on the way back to the train station, my dad was like so interested in like who I was dating and, you know, just so supportive. And it was just like that weight fell off my shoulders. And it was incredible. And I think too, I was a little hard on Adam when I first met him because he was very much, you know, I'm not gay. When I met him, he was dating Miss California, and I'm like, girl, you're gay. Like I was, you know,
When I was drunk,
You didn't mention this.
No. So, but then I had drinks, and it was my first gay pride. So then I was like, well, they got me. So I blamed the pride.
it's I was like, well, you have to do this. And I should have been taking my own advice at the time. I was just like, you are who you are. You need to like tell your parents this. And Adam promised me when we got to a year of being together, he would tell his family, and I don't know why like I needed that to be a thing, but I was with someone before who was very like closeted and stuff like that too, and it was just like really difficult.
No, it was important to you.
It was important to me. So
you were like, I'm an adult, and like I have already had these tough conversations, and I am ready to be in an adult relationship with somebody who, even odds, like stacked against us, 20 and 30 years old, like I could have been like a wild child, which I kind of was. But no, the difference I think with both of our stories is, which is exactly what you said, when we met, we hit it off right away. We were kind of like, the next day, I was actually, after he dropped me off and I woke up on his couch, he had to drop me off to my car. I had to drive.
Like nothing happened.
Yeah, he was like nothing happened.
happened.
He had to drop me off to my car. I had to drive to Universal Studios. I was filming an Ariana Grande music video. And so like working, and then that night I was like, you want to hang out? And then after that, we didn't spend one day apart. Well, 4 months later, we moved to Thailand, and we did like GQ Thailand and Dior and all of like these like major campaigns. Our friend is like the Angelina Jolie of Thailand. And she was like, do you guys want to come out and work and just like hang out with me? And we're like, yeah, why not? What else do we have going on? And so the time just kept kind of going, but that was my first real time out of the country that wasn't on a cruise, And so as we spent more time together, I was like, oh, I'm not going anywhere. Like, okay, I believe in this. And so we went in 1 year from LA, moved to Thailand for 5 months, and then came back and moved to New York City. We moved to 110th Street, like right there, Harlem and Upper West Side. And on June 9th, that was the 1 year mark of Pride. And so we went to a place here called Joe Allen's, and he didn't even pressure me, nothing, to stick to my promise of the 1 year telling my family. But he went to the bathroom. I ordered a bottle of wine and I put all of my family on a group thread. There was like 15 people. And yeah, so I was just like, sorry, like if you guys don't talk to me, like I hate this story, but like it was a good story, but like if you guys don't talk to me, if this doesn't, I'm sorry. But he came out of the bathroom, and when he did, I told him, and I turned my phone off, and I was like, I want to enjoy like the 1 year anniversary. I thought it was great. And then the next day, to my surprise, like my family was the best. My dad called me. He was like, okay. And my dad is like Larry the Cable Guy, and my dad was like, okay, son, we're gay. And I was like, we're not gay. I'm gay. But then like my brothers, my mom, like just everybody was so supportive. So at the time, what I knew since I was 8 years old, that really like it haunts you because you think, like everyone's going to hate you and you're just going to be on like this island, which really affects a lot of people. A lot of people like hurt themselves and like do things because of that. And there's like a stigma behind it. That very thing that we both individually confronted, Mormon and Jewish, and then like this with like the Southern, like redneck family, it's like we couldn't have had better reactions. So sometimes it just kind of reminds you, it reminds you to confront some of these things because you don't know what the outcome's going to be. But it's like almost like you psych yourself out a little bit getting up to it. Like the buildup is worse than the actual delivery, Kind of like maybe you on Shark Tank. Like you probably, you know what I mean? Like the buildup was probably harder than actually doing.
Totally.
Yeah.
God, but you delivered, by the way. Mm-hmm. We were just talking about that before because we,
Oh, no, thank you.
Watched the clip this morning.
I just think it's an incredible story, and it sounds like it was really a bonding experience going through this together in so many ways. I mean, you had the experience of telling your family, and then you had that experience with Jason, which, I mean, is really special in so many ways. You were able to really support each other.
Yeah. And we had a great bottle of wine.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
I think, too, like, we have a 10-year age gap.
Yeah.
Which my dad was making fun of me. He's like, oh, you're rocking the cradle or whatever.
10 years doesn't, I mean.
And I'm like, but 10 years
I know people
anymore,
with 30-year age gaps.
Yeah. And I don't know, like there was something that just, drew me to him. But, I feel like we've conquered so much too. And you go through those things together too. Having the 10-year age gap, it's like, sometimes I'm a little more patient than Adam is. And it's frustrating, And you get to that 5-year mark, you get to that 7-year mark, you get to the 10-year mark, and now 11 years in, it's like we have figured out so much. And I'm a big believer, if you don't figure it out with the person you want to be with, you're never going to figure it out. You're always going to take it to the next person, and it's just never, you got to work through your shit with someone you really, really want to be with.
Well, on top of the work is work, fun is fun, Dad also used to always tell me it's better to stay with the devil you know than the devil you don't. He did say that too, so it's true.
What advice would you have for couples who are just getting engaged on all things marriage? Now, you've been married.
We've been married 4 years.
4 years.
We were engaged for 6.
Okay.
And then we've been together 11.
Okay.
But it's something like again, from our backgrounds, he didn't want to get married. And our engagement felt kind of like a wedding almost, and we had a great celebration, and it was a fun engagement. And then we never really got around to it until like our CPA is like, guys, get going. And it was a struggle, even just going into the courthouse, because he did not want to do it.
Yeah. And
the one thing he wanted more than anything was a prenup.
And also, like, as far as like advice for people who would be getting married, when we got married, I feel like or engaged, I'm sorry. When we got engaged, I feel like our engagement was like out of like The Gay Bachelor. Jason told me that we were going to house. And so I was like, oh my God, I can't wait to meet her. And he said, but we need to take a helicopter. And I was like, this is so, wow, So we get in this helicopter, we land on like the tallest hill in Malibu. There's like flowers and champagne, and the guy was like, well, we have to stop here for 2 seconds. And I'm like, what are we doing? And it overlooked like the water. And then Jason proposed, and then we went over the Pacific coast, and the helicopter landed. There was a vehicle waiting for us. And mind you, we were just like visiting from New York at the time, visiting our friends in LA. Like, we weren't living there. And there was like 40 people at our engagement party, like waiting, like our friends excited to celebrate. It was so cool. And the funniest thing is that we didn't really know this. We had brief discussions, but when he proposed, I was planning to propose on the same 5-day trip at Santa Monica Beach, like where we first had our, like little first date, which is like so lame compared to what he did. And when we got into the helicopter, he's like, were you shocked? And I went into my pocket and I pulled out the ring, and he was like, you joking? And I was like, I didn't know when I was going to do it. And then when we showed up to the party, both having rings, people were like, what?
Wow.
So, yeah.
Advice, though, like, to be honest,
do it right.
Take your time. I think people know that, honestly, we were together for a while before we got engaged. It went 3 years. Some people after 6 months.
I don't know. Your timelines aren't matching up.
Move on. I don't know.
Yeah. But we were together for a moment. And also, I think that a lot of people feel like when you get engaged that there's a lot of pressure to just like do like a shotgun wedding where you have to jump into it, and like, what are the next steps? And we definitely were not like that. I think that you can take as much time as you want and to trust yourself, and you don't have to listen to outside influences. But if you believe in something, or you have internal feelings or intuition about something, I think that you should listen to yourself and trust yourself. And for me, there was no way in hell that I was getting married after watching my parents without a prenup. Like, that was my thing. And at first, Jason was like, well, I'm never doing that,
I was so reluctant. I was just like, why? Like,
reluctant to get married or not get married?
No, I wanted to get married. I just didn't want a prenup because, my parents had been together and that's all I knew. And I'm like, no, we're partners. We're supposed to trust one another.
I think you said that it's like kind of preemptively saying that we were going to get divorced or something.
Yeah.
Which is like, I feel like that's probably common that people think that. And I was like, I don't care if you don't sign a prenup. And he's like, well, then this might not work. And I'm like, Another thing, going back to Southern Dad, don't let the door hit you where the good Lord split you there, friend, because unless we get a prenup, I am not getting married. And, you know, then finally Jason did come around to it. And actually, you know, like we were telling you behind the scenes about this, but Jason found HelloPrenup. And that's really what happened.
Yeah. And now looking back, it just makes you feel so much more comfortable.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's that one thing you don't have to think about.
I also, by the way, too, which you're the expert on this, not us, but I think that people, in some weird way, think that a prenup means that there has to be a winner and a loser. You know?
Yes.
And for us, that wasn't the case. You know, like every divorce that my dad had, it was always, I don't know if it was that he didn't want to deal with it or what the case was, but we lost the homes, the cars, the four-wheelers, the buggies, the boats, the everything. And he would just restart every time. And then we would go back to like nothing. And then he would build it up and then we get a divorce again. And then we do it again. And same thing with my mom. And when we talked about a prenup, I think what I had to sort of condition Jason on was, it's not that I just want to selfishly take everything from you. I want to protect myself. So I want you to be protected and me to be protected. I don't want to get to a point where, God forbid, one day we grow apart. And, you know, Jason always tells me, like, if we ever got a divorce, like, we're not going to be friends. I'll never see you again. And I'm like, okay, well, that's already letting me know that if we got a divorce, you're going to be evil. So, yeah, right? Get a prenup. But then from that point, like, I just wanted to make sure that everything was going to be fair. You know, like, I didn't want to pay alimony. I don't want him to pay alimony. Like, I didn't want to take 100% of the business. I didn't want him to take my business. Like, I didn't want, the only one ask that I had, because our other kind of business and passion is real estate. So we bought in a couple of properties now, or bought a couple of properties. And I just wanted to make sure that the first one that we bought that was in Florida was only under my name and in the prenup, protected under me, that God forbid something happened, I at least have this house if everything else gets divided. And he agreed to it. But now he kind of laughs and he's like, you took the cheap house. Like, this one's mine. And I'm like, what did I do? Can I revise my HelloPrenup? Like, can we go back? Is that a thing? What is that, a postnup?
Yeah, it's a postnup in certain states.
Oh, okay.
Or you can revise a prenup in some states. Yeah.
Okay, maybe we'll talk later.
Yeah. Yeah. So it sounds like initially you didn't want to get married at all.
No.
And then what kind of changed your mind? Was it the prenup because it felt protective? What was that catalyst?
I think that there were a few components to that. One, once I started to realize, like, we lived in LA, New York, Thailand, like moving to all of these places, dealing with everything that we've had to deal with. You know, we went from moments where we were like going to Coinstar to get like ramen noodles because we had no money, to, you know, like being able to invest in things. And like we went through such different high highs and low lows. And I think that when you're in the trenches with somebody, you really kind of get a good feeling of how they're going to operate, like how they are, you know, and if you can do that with them. Because like, I just go past everything. Like if I hit a wall, I'm going to climb the wall. I don't know how, but I'm going to figure it out. And like Jason said earlier, like no doesn't even exist to me. If you tell me no, it's like, okay, whatever. I'll figure it out.
Even when it needs to be a no. It's like, no, I'll figure it out. I got to do it.
And he laughs at me because like even like, you know, like whether it's like an event or a party or like there's like backstage things, like he's like, Adam, like we don't have passes for it. You can't do that. And I'm like, yeah, I can. And I just like walk in and I walk past people like I'm supposed to be there. And he's like, how did that happen?
Everywhere, all the time.
All the time. And I'm just like, because I don't believe in no. And I think that when you find somebody who matches your energy and doesn't bring you down, but either it's okay sometimes to question it, but also more importantly to uplift you, and you guys build each other, then you realize, okay, well, that's my person. And then at the point that we were years in, you know, 5, 6, 7, 8 years, whatever, I realized, okay, well, he's not going anywhere. We have 3 dogs, 2 naked cats. We have a life. And so time to get married. Off to the courthouse we went. which was, oh God, like I got to do a redo on the marriage because I did so bad. It's actually the worst story ever.
I want to get to that story. But first I want to hear about the prenup. So tell me a little bit more about like that initial conversation.
Well, since I wanted to get married and I caved, I'm like, okay, you know, I was like researching and everything just seemed so strenuous to me. I'm like, I don't want to go see a lawyer. How do we like decide on things? What do we do? And I think even you said this too, like millennials need things to be easy and I like easy. So I'm like, you know what? Let me just like do some research, and HelloPrenup came up. And I was like, okay, what is this? And you guys have kind of like I think this was like years ago, but I think you guys had like a quiz or something. And, you know, you ask like,
should you get a prenup quiz?
Absolutely, 100%. So we went through it and I was like, oh, this is easy. This is fun. Okay, cool. So, you know, went through the process and it was very easy. It literally took, a couple of hours? But then I messed up and I had him sign the prenup, the entire prenup and everything. And I realized I put all of his company, all of Up and Adam was under my name in case something happened.
Well, he was honest about it.
And
but I was
you
honest. I was
signed
like, whoops. He doesn't read. He just...
This was a learning curve. Okay.
just sign everything. And I was like, you know, I kind of felt guilty.
Well,
so
he
I was
trusts
like,
you.
Yeah, and you know, like I'm
Which
I'm
then
never
why
gonna
do I
that to
even want the
somebody.
prenup?
Did
if
you
I trust
eventually read it?
Eventually,
Tell me
yes.
you eventually
yes,
read
I
it.
did.
Okay.
What happened was I was on the phone with a housewife, and he was like, sign the prenup. And
get married.
He's like, I want to get married, sign the prenup. And I'm like listening to this. Oh my God, it was Jen Shaw. It was Jen Shaw from the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. She was getting ready to go into prison. I was like in trouble with Bravo because they thought that I stole the interview. She wouldn't give the interview to Andy Cohen. I flew to Salt Lake City, did the interview, and her and I were just like dealing with a lot back and forth with her attorneys and stuff like that. So I'm on the phone and he's like, just sign. And I'm like, actually, you know what? That's probably, maybe that was more strategic on you because he probably knew. And then what happened, it's like when somebody steals from like a convenience store and then they walk out the door with it and they're like, oh, I don't want the residual
I didn't even
effects
know.
of this.
I read
so
through
then
it.
they go
I
back.
didn't even know.
No, but then they go back, they're guilty, and they're like, I got to return it. And like it was an accident. I didn't mean to walk out with it. And it's like, maybe you did know. Maybe that was strategic.
No, I didn't know. I think I just like pushed something wrong. I don't know.
Now you're in question, not me.
I don't know, but it was the easiest process ever.
Yeah.
And it was like, it solidified everything we wanted. Everything was on paper, you know, everything's validated, we're good. And then we can get married.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. And then the process for us was so easy too. And I think that's what, one of the things, which I feel like I'm like doing an ad for HelloPrenup right now, but I truly feel this way. I do feel this way. One of the things that made it so comfortable and easy for us was I was sitting there in like my boxers at like 7:30 at night and we ordered sushi and I had a glass of Prosecco and I'm sitting there like going through taking the quiz and doing it from like the comfort with like my animals laying next to me and just talking about what I wanted and listing things that I wanted and, you know, taking a moment to walk away from it and then come back. It wasn't some intimidating conversation with some, you know, like strange person that we didn't know who is like treating you like it's almost like a vending machine, like next, you know, like next. Okay, well, what do you want? What do you want? You know, like my therapist did that to me the other day. I told you that. My therapist was like, okay, well, your 20 minutes is up. And I was like, 20 minutes? I paid what? And he was like, well, if you want to pay for more, you can pay for more. If not, you can go. I'm like, I feel like that's not, you know, but it was like next.
Feels transactional.
Yeah. And I feel
Absolutely.
like that's what it would feel like if we would have went to a person. And I didn't even want to go to the courthouse to give, I don't like having to schedule myself to leave anything that I'm doing that's not making me money. And I know that sounds stupid and ridiculous, but that's where Jason balances me because sometimes he has to remind me that, you know, like we just went to the Dominican Republic for a wellness retreat. And I was like, I'll do wellness after 6 videos, 10 TikToks, and 1 podcast a day. And so I would do all of these things. And Jason was out learning how to surf. And like, he was kind of on his own wellness retreat. And I feel bad, but like, I'm like, every day that we're here, we're spending money and then losing money by not making money. So I look at it as like a double negative. You know what I mean? So
It's balance.
It's balance.
You know what's so crazy too, and not just to talk it, but when you are doing HelloPrenup, it feels more personal than actually sitting down with a person. And I think that for us was it was so much easier.
It's like the
it takes the
questions are
stress
curated.
away.
Good.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. The questions are curated to be comforting. And like I said, it's not intimidating. That's the key. It's not intimidating.
Yeah. I mean, that was really the purpose behind the two-party system, right? Is it's collaborative. Because I saw so many couples go through the prenup process, and it destroyed them. I mean, it destroyed the relationship with their in-laws. It destroyed their relationship temporarily during this time that should be the most exciting, the most fun, wedding planning, right? And so it's really wonderful to hear that you liked that collaborative element, because that was exactly the intent.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, you hit the nail on the head.
Tell me about finances. How do you manage them? How do you talk about money?
Do you want me to go?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm curious what you're going to say.
You know what's funny is Jason had a whole career right before we met doing Cirque and made a lot of money. And when we met, it's interesting because athletes kind of remind me of military a little bit, where like if you can throw a football or you can do a backflip or you can shoot a rifle and you're the best shot, how do you put that on a resume going into like real everyday life, right? So after he ripped his Achilles and tore his shoulders and did all of these surgeries, he kind of realized that he fulfilled that career, and then took a step back and then had to survive off of that while also helping out with friends and family. And for me, I never came from anything, So once we started making money on YouTube, I always looked at it from the perspective of most of our friends were on reality TV and they would be kicked off after like 3 seasons, 4 seasons, make all of this money and not know how do they survive. And I'm like, how do you not know how to survive? You're getting like $400,000 checks. Like, did you not invest? And so I never wanted that to be us. So as soon as we started making money, my whole goal, saying to Jason, was I want to invest in real estate and real assets and like other businesses, something that can make us not have to go back to nightlife after this. And that's kind of what we did. But Jason was like a huge integral part of executing that, in the sense that like when it comes to our finances, our bank accounts, our CPA, like just taxes, mortgages, everything, he watches everything, he pays everything, because God forbid it's like the last day of the month, you can't even talk to him because it takes 2 hours to pay bills, and it's like, oh my God, I just paid all of the bills. What did you do today? I'm like, I don't know. I got your coffee, your breakfast sandwich. I walked the dogs. Like I filmed. What? And so we'll sit there and have those conversations, but twice a month, every 2 weeks, we'll check in. We'll open up our bank accounts. We'll look at our checkings, our savings, our business accounts. We'll look at our investments, and we keep such an open dialogue about everything, and we know what's going on. So he sort of does the back end. I focus on like just bringing in. And of course, like, Jason and I do YouTube and stuff together and we'll collab, but he really just makes everything he's almost like the Wizard of Oz, except like except like when the thing comes down, you're not like a
I've
joke.
never been like that though. I've never been someone to sit there and like focus on the finances and stuff, but we have a very open dialogue. He's more of a saver kind of guy, like going through that. I like to like spend a little bit, but I also spent too much before, so I don't want to also be in the position like we've been in where we're going to like Coinstar and like trying to buy some food and
yeah, we cannot
bottle
do
of
that
cheap
again.
champagne, anything to make it through the night.
But $2 Chuck, Trader Joe's, guys.
No, but it's just communicating all the time about it, seeing where we're at, watching things like just paying attention to it, and really having that open dialogue about what we can do, what we can't do, where we want to go. It's
well, and I think too.
I think a lot of people have. This is a problem in a lot of relationships, because I see in some of our friends' relationships, there isn't a communication about money. Someone like makes the money, someone doesn't. You know, we are in a situation where I think we have our businesses and we're both bringing in what we need to bring in, but people don't communicate about money
enough.
It's enough at all.
Yeah.
At all.
Well, and to add to that too, I think that sometimes when it comes to the financial aspects of like our relationship, what we've had to learn over time is this is not an emotional conversation. This is like a conversation that needs to be had. And I think for a lot of people, including my family and friends who are in marriages or relationships, they don't have these conversations. And what it reminds me of, like the best analogy I can give you is like when you have that silly person who's like maybe 20 years old and some stupid ad popped up saying like, do you want a Delta Sky Miles card for a $5,000 credit limit? And you're like, oh my God, $5,000. Like I just made $40 on my serving shift. And so you'll take the credit card, not realizing that there's interest. You just charge it, let it get away and pretend like it doesn't exist unless you're swiping it. And then all of a sudden you get hit with the reality like, oh my God, like I have to, you know, like I have all of this debt and stuff. So I think that's the key component of this is communication, but periodically. That way you never let yourself get to the point where this will affect your relationship and it does become an emotional conversation. Because at that point, like if he came to me tomorrow and said that I was like Bernie Madoff and like everything was gone, I would be on... It would be like Wives with Knives. I would be on the Investigates channel. Like it would be so bad. I would just leave. I don't know what I would do.
Well, we have to communicate too, because like you said, like I pay all the bills and stuff like that. But if something, like if I die tomorrow, like you got to know how to pay the bills and stuff too. But that's why we communicate, because it's just like
I had
it just
to learn
makes
that
life
too.
so much better. You know, it's another thing off your shoulder.
Yeah.
It's another thing you don't have to worry about. It's a conversation that's easy to have for us now.
Well, and I think that your strengths are my weaknesses and my strengths are his weaknesses. And I think that that's where the meshing of it comes together really well. And I think that truly that goes back to when you find your partner or your person and when you know you're going to get engaged or you're going to get married, that's the kind of person that you want. You want not always somebody that's so similar to you, but somebody who balances you, somebody who offers something that maybe you don't. And it's not like annoying to you, but it's more like it's interesting, it's entertaining, it keeps you on your toes, it makes you think, it challenges you, it introduces conversations that you're not necessarily comfortable with. But when you're in your comfort zone, what are you doing anyways?
Right.
You know what I mean? So, yeah, finances, we got that in the bag. We're good. Yeah.
This kind of concept of delusional spending with the credit card, do you see a lot of that in the Bravo universe? Because I imagine there's an immense pressure to keep up appearances. I mean, all the outfits, all the luxury.
Well, even like Adam mentioned too, like a lot of our friends are on shows and stuff like that. Those shows come to an end, right? And they do want to keep up the image and the appearance, and a lot of it is swiping away. But when that show ends, and this is, I think, preparation, investing, doing things to prepare for that day. Like we just never want to be in a situation like that ever again. You just watch them swipe, you know, you have glam teams, you have to dress a certain way. And then like, you know, as some of our Bravo friends, when they start on the show, they almost like after years become caricatures of themselves too. And they have something that they need to maintain. And it's expensive. Some of the conversations we've had with our friends too about what they pay and how much money and time goes into just keeping that up, that image of self. Really, it's wild.
Well, like Erica Jane.
It's expensive to
She's
be
a
me.
really good example.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, but her expenses were really out there. I mean, everyone was able to read about them in the court documents, and it just was wild to me how much this costs.
Yeah.
It's expensive to be her.
Yeah.
Point.
Well, you know, Lisa Rinna even said this when she left Real Housewives to Beverly Hills. She said, it's wild because you guys think that we make all of this money, which truly the housewives, depending on who you are, the most paid housewife right now is commanding a $2 million check, right? That's Portia, but before that was Bethany Frankel. Bethany Frankel, she still won't disclose it, but I think it was like upwards of $3 million. Wow. And before Portia came on, it was Candy Burris. So, and she also got a $2 million check. Now, it depends who you're talking about and what other businesses or opportunities they've been able to do for themselves outside of being on reality TV. Because, and please do not contact me if you listen to this podcast or watch it. But like one of our good friends, Sheena, right?
I heard your podcast about Sheena.
Yeah, well,
I know how you feel.
No, I mean, and you know what's crazy is Sheena got me my job at Sir. We've been friends for a long time, and everybody can go listen to Up and Adam YouTube channel and see, like, hear what we said about that. But it was more so just she has now, before the show went to a reboot, after season 11, before it went to a reboot, they were making a lot of money, right? Now, mind you, it's 1099. There's California state taxes. You got to pay your manager. You got to pay your publicist. A lot of money comes out. The team. Now, and then for Sheena, she's a great example. But, you know, Sheena's husband, she pays, you know, for their life with her and her husband. I believe they're a one-income household with the daughter.
With her income as being the primary income.
With her income being the primary.
Okay.
I believe that's what she said. And if I have something wrong, then I'm sure Mark will call me and let me know, and the attorney. But like, then on top of that, she was very vocal about the fact that she was employing her sister and helping her family. So there's a lot of people who are coming out of...
a lot of pressure.
That's a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
And right before season 11 came to an end, she already had her home in Palm Springs that was a little over $1 million. I think it was like 1.2 or 1.4, which is great, you know, like awesome. Her home's beautiful. And then she went and bought like a 3.2 or a $3.5 million home in the Valley. Of course, everybody thought that she was buying it to be in the Valley so she could get on the Valley. Maybe she was. Maybe it was strategic. I'm not sure. But what we immediately thought was when the news came out that it was going to be rebooted, we were like, oh my God, how do you pay for this? Like, yes, you have a podcast, but your podcast numbers for like any of them, it's kind of like what Sir used to be. Sir would be dead when the show was not on. When the show was on, Sir was pumped, like packed. They made all of their money. It's like Macy's during Christmas. Like they make all of their money in the department store for the holiday, and then they can pay their mortgage for their rent for the rest of the year. And that was kind of like the same thing for their podcast. So if the show was on and they could talk about the episodes, their podcasts were booming, you know? But if there's no show and you don't have that to talk about, your numbers go down. When your numbers go down, your money goes down. When your money goes down, how are you paying 2 mortgages and for like 6 people, especially in the state of California, more importantly, in the city of Los Angeles? And I think about that. You know, I'm like, how do you survive? Because for us, going through YouTube, we gave ourselves like kind of like a timeline of how long we wanted to be on YouTube and how we wanted to branch that out and make sure that it was a well-oiled machine that would create more businesses, but also still keep going. That way one day we can be on an island somewhere with a pina colada and be like, my God, we just got a check for X, Y, and Z, you know? Like that's always been important. So
passive income.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So I do think about the Bravo celebrities and how expensive it is to be them and how some of them really don't, what is it? Carpe diem, seize the day? They don't seize the day, you know?
But on the flip side of that, there are a lot of ones who do. You know, who start businesses, who start brands.
Bethany.
Yes.
Like,
Bethany's.
Yeah.
But,
absolutely.
And some of them come into it with it. You know, like a lot of people like Meredith Marks we're great friends with. Everyone wonders like, what do you do? Where do you live? And she'll stay at the Waldorf Astoria in New York City for like 3 weeks at a time and then go to LA. And she doesn't know where she wants to be, but she has created this life for herself. So she came into Bravo having this lifestyle and having these businesses in place and this passive income. You know, last night we went out with Dorinda Medley, and she also has a lot of passive income, and she has properties and things. So when the show got taken away, she wasn't like, oh my God, how am I going to afford my bills? And if you're in that place, amazing. A lot of people, though, who are in that place don't necessarily want to be on reality TV, though. Because usually when you want to be on reality TV, you're thirsty. You got to put yourself out there. You got to be nitty, gritty, like
skeletons
nasty.
come out of the closet. That's
It's
like the worst.
Yeah, you're a cheating scumbag, but guess what? I just cashed that check. Like, a lot of people don't want that, you know? So it's interesting. Everybody's so different in the Bravo world. You never know. You really, truly never know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is a fascinating universe.
Yeah.
Have you met Bravo Andy?
Like Andy Cohen?
Yeah.
I actually met him.
Yeah.
You know what? I met him randomly. I found this photo like the other day. I think back in like 2010 or something at some Broadway event, not even really knowing who he was like back then. And I found this photo. I'm like, that's Andy Cohen. That's so crazy. But yeah, they had a very interesting meet the first time and the second time, because obviously we got in trouble with the Jen Shaw interview. Mm-hmm. So we were given, NBC was very,
not happy.
They weren't happy, but before that, we used to get a lot of interviews, and if we requested something, they're like, oh yeah, Up and Adam, sure.
Mm-hmm.
That went away for like a year after the Jen Shaw interview.
Yeah.
Great for the brand, but Adam, do you mind if I tell the story?
No, I don't care.
Okay.
Yeah.
Went up to Annie, he's like, I'm Adam. He's like, I know who you are.
And Jason said, don't go over there, and I was like,
very cold. But the next BravoCon, we were at an NBC party, and Adam just like nipped it in the butt. It was like, that was my bad. I'm sorry, for doing that interview. And I think that's all he needed to hear. All of a sudden, everything opened back up again. It's,
Well, and I think it's also too, like, you have to speak when you're dealing with somebody, and I'm not going to put Andy Cohen in a box, but like when you're dealing with somebody, you have to, if you're the one trying to make things right, you have to learn how to speak their language, right? Mm-hmm. So this man built an entire empire off of being a fan of Desperate Housewives. Yeah. Turned it into the Real Housewives, starting with Orange County. Now, it's a pop culture phenomenon, right? Yeah. So the whole premise of the show is built on conflict resolution. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, well, shit, there's a conflict right here, so I'm about to resolve it. And that's how I kind of looked at it, and Jason's like, don't you dare. And he's like, do you mind? I'm going to go find my cousin really quick, and then we can go. And I was like, yeah. And then he went to walk away, and I was like, beelined it.
But it's a good thing, without Andy and that empire and that, look how many creators have come out of this. Look how much it's grown, It's quite impressive how amazing it's gotten.
I will say one thing though. You know what strikes me as odd about all of this too is not to like give us credit, but like I'm gonna take it right now. Trailblazer is such an interesting word, but like truly what Jason said at the beginning of this, when we started YouTube, we did create this space. Yeah. For like Bravo and all of that, and like covering it and truly building a fan base, which I always like to call as like R&D, research and development, because Andy Cohen and Bravo and like all of the people who work at the network, they watch all of our stories. They're in our live chats. Yeah. They are seeing what people are saying. We post polls. They say thank you. Yeah. They like the feedback, but then now after this, 5 years later, there are so many other creators who have come out of this who have podcasts and now ventured off into YouTube and TikToks and all of these platforms, and they kill it. But Bravo puts them and NBC puts them in a box and a bubble, and they get rewarded for that. So pretty much if you walk the line as if like you're a Bravo celebrity, when you get that ironclad contract that's like mess up, like F around and find out, if you walk the line, we'll give you like some little BS like role on one of our Sirius XM shows or something like that. We'll pay you nil. But when Vanderpump Rules comes out with the new season, guess who gets a ticket to the premiere party? Or guess who gets a seat at Watch What Happens Live? And so they'll reward you with like other things, So they have figured out a very clever way of keeping certain content creators in that bubble, which is not something that I blame Bravo for at all. I think it's actually really smart. It's really up to the content creator to decide, again, going back to the beginning of this conversation, like if a door is not open for me, I push that open. I will be wherever I want to be. Like I will figure out a way to get into it. And also I'm not going to have somebody tell me when and how to do the content that I do. I put out whatever I want. But with that sometimes comes complications. However, on the other end, what makes those complications really easy is that there's a lot of money with it when you do what you want and you're not feeling like you have to talk to like, you know, Big Brother or like the big man, you know? So it just depends. It's like, where do you want to be, you know?
What is it like for you two being in the public eye?
Would you say that?
It's so funny. He says that, but everywhere we go, someone's like, Up and Adam? It's like, it's a thing. And I think too, it's not, you know, over 60-70% of people who watch our channel aren't even subscribed, and over our 2 channels we have about 300,000 subscribers who are very like diligent. They watch, you know, we have a great community. They call themselves the Addams family, and it's a lot of fun. But everywhere we go, that's why I tell Adam, I'm like,
he makes me not wear pajamas when I go
I'm like,
out.
can we just dress normal? You know, like maybe let's not get smashed at the bar because like someone's gonna know who you are. It happens all the time.
No, not getting smashed at the bar. Like that doesn't happen all the time.
So I have a funny story to share from last BravoCon. So our friend Caroline Stanbury, I was helping her out with her booth at BravoCon and stuff. And so every once in a while, the talent will come by and they'll take photos with everyone and sign things and stuff like that. So Caroline came to her booth and Adam was standing right next to her, and everyone's asking him for a picture and like, oh my God, Up and Adam. And she turns to you, she's like, whose fucking booth is this? Yeah, it's like people do know who you are. And I think it's weird because when you're sitting in your studio or in our living room where we're vlogging, you don't know who's watching it. Mm-hmm. You forget that sometimes. You know, you forget like what you say and, you know, what you do, how many people are actually watching the content. And it's crazy. It happens more than you think.
Well, and you know what's so funny about like when you're mentioning subscribers and YouTube numbers and stuff like that, it's kind of wild because it's like people really, when a new episode of a show comes out or a premiere, like the Real Housewives of Orange County premiere, and 535,000 live viewers and the demo is this, it doesn't matter. You know, it's like what he was saying with YouTube, 300,000 subscribers. TikTok, there's like 200, whatever. We have like over 250 million views or whatever. But if you go on and you really study the algorithm and the analytics, it's like 60% of the people don't even subscribe to you. And if you go on and you talk to AI and you talk to, you know, like Google, and you learn and you put yourself into it and try to understand the business of it, you realize that there are a lot of people who will still look you up, but they just don't press subscribe. Or if they press subscribe, it makes them sign up. They don't know how to sign up, so they just know how to look you up. And you don't know who's actually watching. But there was one time, and I've only really had one negative time. It was Father's Day. And we went to Orlando to take my dad with my sisters and their boyfriends and my stepmom to Hibachi, where we're sitting at one of those half table things where there's like another family on the other side and they cook in front of you. And this woman, if she's watching, I'm sorry. It was her birthday, so she was a little tipsy pants. And she goes, Adam! And I was like, and I looked, not knowing like, who is this? And she comes over and tells me everything that she hates about me and tells Jason everything she loves about him. And my family's looking at me like, do you want us to ask her to walk away? And she's like, I just don't know why, like with Erica and Tom, you're such an asshole. Like, you suck. But Jason, I love you. And her husband was like, babe, it's time to go. And I said, no, it's okay. I understand. And thank you. And so nice to meet you. And, you know, and my stepmom was like, you want me to walk her out? And I was like, no, God, no, we don't need any of that. But it's funny. Sometimes it's really, really fun. And sometimes people just want to come up and tell me exactly what they think. And that's okay too.
But it's great. It keeps the conversation going.
Yeah.
And I think that's fun, you know, and we always try to do things that are fun for the community too.
Yeah.
You know, that support us.
Like so
many
many
I always
giveaways.
tell them, like, you can't be an asshole. You know, these people pay our bills. People are watching our channel and we're enjoying what we're doing. They're enjoying what they're seeing. So, you know, we got to just pay attention to, I don't know, you just don't know who's watching. You never know where you're going to meet someone. And
Well,
and it's strange. It's very strange.
Yeah, and I agree with that too. It's like you don't know who's watching, and it should be fun. And like we do make it fun. We make our community something where like we're always constantly giving away like really expensive products to people. We partner with incredible brands, whether it's Blue Mean, Rose Forever, wellness retreats. Like we give away so much, but it's not that we're just giving it to people like trying to like bribe them to come watch. It's we have people who have already been a part of the community who know through like our members only and stuff how to kind of like enter themselves and to win. And it's always like the most basic thing. Go like this, comment on this, and post this. Like it's something silly, but it just it kind of helps drive things, and it keeps people really interested, and it also rewards them for being a part of the community, while at the end of the day we're all just coming together in the live chats and stuff, talking about something that is escapism. Like who really,
It's like a book club.
who gives a shit about a housewife who is throwing a glass of wine? Don't talk about the husband. Nobody. But what we're doing is we're creating a community, you know? So that's what they care about, because then they come on, and sometimes I'll even look while we're in the, like doing a live, and it'll be like, hey, Vicky, is your son still sick? Or, hey, Sarah, like, what's going on? Did you get another day off of work? And I'm like, guys, what are we doing? You know, and there'll be like over 1,000 people, and they're just like talking about their day-to-day, checking in on each other.
It's community.
It's a community, you know? And when we did live shows too, we did 3 live shows, Nashville, New York, LA. We sold them out, and these people who came to visit were so incredible, and then bonded with each other, and they made lifelong friends with each other. And now they go to BravoCon together, they hang out, they have like matching things, they take vacations. One actually became a divorce lawyer for the other one. Like,
Wow.
like it's kind of like, what did we do? We started
It's incredible.
but it's not, you know, we didn't do anything different than anybody else. I just think what the difference is when you're until you're doing it, until you're immersed into that, like the content creator, the influencer, you don't really understand what that impact can be. But for anybody truly, and I always say this, YouTube or content creating or influencing is not for the faint-hearted. And if you don't have a backbone, just don't do it. Because I've gotten to the point where Jason will filter my comments now, because we get sometimes 10, 20, 30,000 comments a day, and he'll filter through the comments. But sometimes people tell me like, oh my God, Adam, like you've gotten so skinny. Are you on Ozempic? Or Adam, you look fat as hell. Or Adam, I hate you. I hate your voice. Like you should go kill yourself. And like things like it's crazy, you know?
Yeah.
And
especially when you have a different opinion.
Yeah.
You know, or someone like, for instance, when you were talking about Lisa Rinna and people like Lisa Rinna or Erica, it doesn't, you know, it's not that deep, but it's also, it can become very personal, and it can become very negative. Like the comments can be negative, but we try to keep it a positive community.
it's always the person with the dog avatar as their profile photo too.
Yeah. Keyboard warriors.
Keyboard warriors.
Yeah.
I have some rapid fire questions for you.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna need my computer for these. All right. Favorite date that you've been on together?
When we used to go to Malibu,
Yeah.
every week we used to take like a Sunday or a day off, and we used to go out to Malibu. You know, our R.I.P. Moonshadows.
I loved Moonshadows.
I know.
loved.
That was my favorite restaurant.
We used to
know.
go out, have a
I
drink,
know.
enjoy the water. It sucks.
I know, it's devastating.
I mean, that was our special place. That's where we got engaged. So we'd spend a lot of time out there, but just kind of not. We're very social, so we always have a lot of friends around us, right? So for us to escape and just go like have a drink together and kind of like catch up. But lately, it's been. We do like a beach walk every day.
I was going to say that because it's almost like we do like a daily date.
Yeah.
Because we go to F45 in the morning. We have like the same schedule, but like every morning I wake up, I walk the dogs, 7 o'clock, I go get us both coffee, 8:30 we have F45. We do it for 45 minutes, and then after we hop over to the beach, and it takes like 2 seconds. We go over there, we park, and we do a 5-mile beach walk, just talking
We go
about
over
our day,
everything.
what we're going to do. We talk about like real life problems, things that we're happy about. We check in with each other, and that kind of feels like a date every single day. And then by the time we get home, it's usually about like, I don't know, like 10:30 and
or
then
until you drop.
yeah, and then we work until like 8 p.m.
Yeah.
You know, so that's kind of like my favorite date, I guess, because it's just like a daily date.
Yeah.
And sometimes, listen, the beach walks don't always go well. There have been some beach walk offs.
Oh, we'll call it short.
Yeah.
Call it short. Like we're calling this one short.
Yeah,
It's not,
we'll be
we're not
halfway
agreeing.
there, and Jason will be like, he'll say something, and I'll be like, no, I'm done, or like vice versa. Yeah, so usually there are favorites. Yeah.
Wedding planning. Who is more particular about wedding details?
I don't think either.
Yeah. No.
No, neither one of us wanted. Did you want a wedding?
Not really.
No.
No, we went to the courthouse.
Yeah.
You know, but I did want that engagement. I wanted that shock and surprise and kind of thing. So maybe me in that sense.
Yeah,
I
you just
guess.
wanted kids, and I was like, no,
No kids.
no.
I don't think so. I don't think so.
Sorry.
God, we've switched on that. You used to not want them, and then I used to want them, and then
No,
sometimes you say things. And
No,
I'm
I like them when they're dressed cute and they're like fun to look at, but then when they start like yelling at you, and then I feel like they grow up, but they need things, and then they choke on things, and then they touch things, and then they touch their little nasty noses, and they wipe it on walls, and then they get your couch dirty. Then they grow up and they tell you what like an awful parent you are. Then they want a car. Then you got to pay for their college, and then you think
money.
once they turn 18 that they're gonna leave, and they still don't go anywhere. So it's like no.
We have a lot of nieces and nephews though, and it's
Yeah.
fun
Yeah.
just to be the fun gay uncle. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that's a great place to be.
Fun uncles. I
He's
like
Fun
that.
uncles.
He's a great uncle. Like for example, we took our nephew to the water park, and Jason was like everywhere with him, and he came up to me and he was like, you know, Uncle Adam, I want this out of the shop, the little merch shop or whatever. And I was like, what is that? And I looked at it, it was like $58, and I was like, no. I was like, you're not getting that. We just paid for this. Like, what are you talking about? And I said, we got you lunch. Like, what do you want? I didn't know. Like, he's like 12 years old. You want a Prosecco? I don't know. But you're not getting a $58 thing. And so he looked at me and he's like, I want it. And I'm like, kid, you got a lot to learn. I don't care what you want. And you can't afford this. Can you afford it? Do you have a job? And Jason's like, Adam, this is a 12 or 13-year-old. I don't even know how old he is. 12 or 13-year-old kid. That's not how you talk to them. And I'm like, look, kid, the real world's going to hit you hard. So you better get ready for it. You know, so we're very different.
On that note, who's the spender and who's the saver?
Both for different things. I'll upgrade us if we fly, or I'll stay the extra night or book the nicer hotel. He's like, no. But then like he goes to Starbucks every day and like 5 times a day, and you know what I mean? I know, but you go more than I do, so I don't know. I don't know.
No, I think that Jason has taught me a valuable lesson in like spending, because he taught me quality. Because a lot of times, like especially when I was in LA and I was signed with Wilhelmina, and they would send me out to do test shoots or these like photo shoots where I would have to bring my own clothes. So I would have to go to H&M and like buy clothes, leave the tags on them, like wear it for the shoot and like return it because I couldn't afford anything. And I just got so conditioned to buying like $4 shirts from H&M, and you wash them 3 times and they're dead, you know? Whereas like Jason's mom retired and worked in Saks her whole life. And so Jason grew up, like when he would go to school, he would have a personal shopper from Saks who would pull for him.
Discount. It's a very discounted.
Very discounted. But then like
Plus, I loved that show when I was a kid.
I would go to school and my parents would drop me off at Walmart and hand me $120, like all of the siblings, $120, and they'd be like, go wild. Okay? But like whatever you get, it lasts you the whole year. So he kind of taught me quality, because when you invest in certain things, whether it's an experience, like what he's saying, hotel or flights or travel or clothes, you know, like he has Ferragamos and jeans and stuff like that. No, I'm saying like, but those things you've had for like 15 years, you know, and they last. So that's the importance of the quality aspect. So
But
I think
it's okay
that.
to feel good sometimes. You know what I mean? You can splurge a little bit every now and then.
I don't have that component though. I don't know how to.
Sometimes I just force it.
Yeah.
I'm like, we're buying this. We're taking this trip. You know, we're taking a break. You know,
I just usually feel like I don't deserve that though. So I'm kind of like, I don't want it. I don't deserve it. But then like low key, like on the inside, I'm like, then like, are you not listening? Then why are you going to Saks and still shopping when I'm saying I don't deserve it? And he's like, I don't care. That's you. That is a you problem. And so I've learned, you know, like he's going to do it without me. So I need to be a part of it.
That's the balance.
Yeah.
All right. dream vacation. Where would you go if money wasn't an object?
Ooh.
Oh, I know this one.
Do you?
Yes. Those little villas.
Oh, in the Maldives.
Or is that
Like Bora Bora.
Bora
Bora
Bora,
Yeah.
where they
Yeah.
have like at the bottom where
Yes,
you can
like
see like down
solid glass, yeah.
Yeah, like I've always that is like my dream vacation, and I've looked them up a couple of times, like to get the villas. They're like 12,000 for a week.
So we're never gonna do it because he won't want to spend.
I can't do that. Like I would die. Like
Yeah.
So that if money wasn't an object, but we have really different ideas of vacations. Jason likes like London, and he wants to go to Sweden and like snow, and I'm like, I just want to tan and to lay on the beach and like not be bothered. So what's yours?
I would say the same.
Bora?
Like that, yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. Say
Yeah.
the same.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Okay. Now I have some Bravo questions for you.
No.
Get ready. Favorite Bravo show?
Below Deck.
Oh. Yes.
I started covering it on his channel because I'm like, this is the highest rated show on Bravo.
Yeah.
It hits more people. It's fun. It's like hospitality. It's
Everybody
yachting.
likes it. Men, women, everyone
Everybody.
likes
It hits
Below
a different
Deck. Yeah.
demographic for sure. And you know, you're watching people from all over the world, very
Yeah.
similar to Cirque. I always say this to the circus because everyone comes from all over the world with a different discipline, right? And they kind of put on a show. And it's fun to watch. I like it. Or Miami.
Yeah, I was gonna say if you're talking about like of all time, then I would say like old school OG Roni, where you had like Dorinda, Sonia, Luann, Ramona, Bethany, because it was just wild and they were unapologetic and just chaos. And now times have changed, so you can't really be like that anymore. There's so many things put in place by the network to protect themselves. But like if we're talking about like now, what's currently airing, Real Housewives of Miami, for sure. Yeah.
Favorite Bravo cast member from any show?
Oh. God, I don't. You have to go first. I got to think about that.
Oh, I have a couple though because I'm friends with. I can literally go through actually and just like in Salt Lake City, like I'm really good friends with Monica Garcia, who ended up getting taken out of the show. But I was great friends with Jen Shaw and Meredith, and like hung out with them in different ways and love all of them for different reasons that I can't share. But like then you go over to Roni. Last night we went out with Dorinda. And we got to go to the Berkshires to Bluestone Manor for her Halloween party.
Wow.
Had the best time. And she's like the biggest sweetheart. But then we can, I feel like, go to every franchise. Like Beverly Hills, Lisa Vanderpump, everybody to her was invisible. And for us, it was like, Adam, Jason. And then she would look at people who worked for her for like 2 years and she'd be like, what? Who are you? And they'd be like, Jesus Christ, like I've been here for 2 years.
She's
Lisa.
such an icon.
Yeah, she would never know, but then Jason would go into the bathroom with her and help her pull up her double Spanx. Oh. Like it just everybody was so like we just have different relationships with everybody.
You know what's so crazy is I don't get like very starstruck very easily, just because in Cirque and stuff we met a lot of celebrities and stuff like that, and I going back to Below Deck. Captain Sandy, I was like, hi. When I met her, this was like 2 years ago, I was like, I love you. And I'm like, what am I doing? Like, this is so weird. She's like, do you want a picture? And I'm like, can I have a picture? Like, it was so weird. Wow. It was so awkward, but she's lovely. And she's like awesome. So probably Captain Sandy.
I have a no photo rule anytime we go places, like with like BravoCon and stuff like that. Like when we hang out with like housewives and stuff, like even last night, there's no photo evidence. Yeah. But I just feel like it kind of makes us look like thirsty or like tacky a little bit.
Yeah.
So I'm like, please, like we're not asking for photos with anybody. We're just gonna enjoy the moment.
Just enjoy the moment.
Yeah. Relish in it, and then hopefully we remember it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right. Real Housewives, Beverly Hills or OC?
Beverly Hills.
Beverly Hills. Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Okay.
Easy.
Real Housewives, New York or Miami?
Miami.
Miami. New York's terrible now. No.
I didn't want to say it. But.
No, I mean the cast isn't terrible individually, but as an ensemble cast, I think Bethany Frankel said it best. It is a very glossy, curated version of what the network felt they needed to do in order to appease to the audience at that time with what was happening in the world, with the pandemic and everything. And there were a lot of conversations, difficult conversations. There were there was a lot of pushback, a lot of protest with, I'm not talking about literal protests, but like protesting of what was allowed and what wasn't. So they really had to take control over it. And I think the way that they did it was just terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I liked the last season. I love the characters, but I really miss Bethany.
Yeah. No, we all do.
Most shocking moment you've seen on Bravo?
Scandival.
That was the most profitable moment.
Profitable, but the way they picked up cameras right away, and kept going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was.
It felt very raw.
It did feel, and it actually was. I mean, people were talking about how it was maybe like kind of produced a little bit, but if you talk to them, it was very real for all of them. It was, so.
Honestly, not to sound like a vain, egotistical, like, a-hole, but, like, before I would have said, like, when Stassi, like, backhanded the crap out of Kristen when she found out that she was sleeping with Jax. But then when this last season of Real Housewives of Salt Lake City came out and I was asked to do a favor for Whitney and come on and record a phone call, and that phone call was, like, the central storyline to the entire season, and they played it and had me have 2 different conversations and then edited it into one conversation, which was so stupid because we recorded the phone call on our side too, showing like that's not what was said, that's not what happened. And then it played out that way, and they doubled down, and she doubled down on Watch What Happens Live as if like we were liars and all of these things, and then we had to defend ourselves without giving receipts, because if you give receipts or share text or audio, then it looks like you're not trustworthy.
Right.
So
we have a rule.
We had to be strategic.
Yeah, if we're talking to any of the talent, or we have dinner or whatever, that stays there.
Yeah.
The texts stay there, the phone calls stay there, because it's
like a breach of trust.
Dangerous.
Totally.
But that's the moment for me though, is like seeing that and watching that play out and just like having to live it as it was so manipulated, and then having to answer to people in such a creative way without, honestly, what I wanted to do was just be like, here's my phone, look for yourself. But, it's like we had to get very colorful with how we did that.
And this is what they do all the time.
Yeah.
Can you imagine?
Yeah.
Being a housewife.
Yeah.
I can't.
It's like War
I can't.
of the Worlds.
I can't. All right. Most iconic reunion moment.
I can think of, that's not a good one, but like Portia dragging Kenya's ass off the reunion floor when she kept on yelling at her in the megaphone. That was wild. Then also I would say, Tamra Judge's That's My Opinion. That was really, really
That's
good.
iconic, yeah.
Yeah, that was iconic. I don't know. There are some really great reunion moments. It depends. Like each franchise has their own, but again, old school Roni. Like there was
nothing like it.
No.
Nothing like it.
I mean, they would yell at each other. They would literally scream at each other and be like, "Why don't you put an easy pass on that Holland tunnel of a vagina?" And then they would be like, "Do you want a martini? You want to go get a martini after this? Like we're good." And then Ramona would be like, "I just shat on the floor, but like, yeah, I'm good now. So yeah, martini." And so like those moments too,
Ramona.
you just never know. There were so many good ones.
So many good ones.
Yeah.
Best villain in Bravo history.
Oh.
Probably Brittany Glanville's a good one.
Or Lisa Rinna.
Oh, Lisa Rinna.
Lisa Rinna, I think, took the cake.
Lisa Rinna does take
now
the
everybody
cake.
misses her, though.
Yeah, everybody wanted
we
her
didn't
gone.
like her. We want her gone, but now everyone misses her because sometimes when you take out the ingredients, you're left with like a flat cake,
And I think that there's a difference. Like Lisa Rinna, there's different kinds of villains, right? Like Tom Sandoval, you were like a scumbag because you had this woman inside of your house who you made to be best friends with this girl who you built a life with for 10 years. Like you just suck, And then like Jax Taylor, who just left the Valley, it's like you exhibited rage texting, mental abuse, emotional abuse, physical abuse. You threw a stool, you flipped a table, bruised her. You were tapping into the cameras. It was breach of privacy. So many things happen, which is like, that's not a fun reality TV villain. But what Lisa Rinna would do, which made her a villain, which is kind of wild, was just her job. And she would dive into your storyline. She'd be like, you're getting a divorce, but like, let's be real. do you think that he was cheating on you? Were you cheating on him? And it's like, excuse me, this is the hardest time of my life. I'm getting a divorce and you're going to go there, you know, and it would become, she became the villain.
Huh? She was a good one.
Was it her with Kyle? Who was she? Because she...
Oh, she did everybody. She said Kim Richards was near death. She exposed Denise Richards with Brandi Glanville and that whole affair thing. She started to go in on Erica Jane at one moment, but then she left her alone. She helped Teddy expose Lisa Vanderpump for Puppygate. She did the whole situation with Kyle Richards and Kathy Hilton when it came to Aspen. She brought Sutton on the show and sabotaged Sutton on the show. She tried to get Crystal Kung Minkoff. I mean, I could go for days. Like, she was just a great villain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are great examples.
Yeah. No, it's like trivia.
Which Bravo cast member deserves their own spinoff?
I don't really think any of them.
Not right now. There's no OGs anymore. There's no Kim Zolciak. There's no Nene Leakes. There's no Bethany Frankel who can handle a show. Because you watch some of them like that they try to do and it lasts like a minute, or like the Wild Things with Denise Richards. You know, like it's
even
that
like
just got canceled, right?
Yeah, that got canceled. But then even you see Candy Burris, she got Candy in the Gang. You see Portia, and it was Portia's Family Matters. You saw Bethany Frankel, and it was Bethany Ever After. And it's like, you have these huge key OG figures that you would think would be able to hold their own and get a show, which I think Bravo played with for a while. However, I feel like what everybody learned through trial and error was you guys are amazing being a part of an ensemble cast because you contribute to a bigger story, a bigger dynamic. But then when you try to hold it on your own, it's like, we don't even know. No. Flop.
Yeah.
So no. Nobody.
Okay. I agree with that.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah. Sometimes I surprise you.
Any closing thoughts, pieces of advice for a new couple?
Honestly, to be patient. You know, I think you go into a relationship. I had a terrible relationship before Adam, and I think that I wasn't patient, and I had expectations. And I think if you manage your expectations going in and kind of let things happen instead of force things to happen or force a relationship to be a certain way or maybe what society tells you a relationship should be, if you go into it and let it happen, I think that's when the best moments happen. You know, that's when a relationship, a real one, forms. And like there were so many moments where we just enjoyed each other at the beginning of our relationship. We just had fun, you know, and as you do move through a relationship, that fun kind of, you know, it's not that honeymoon phase anymore.
I'm fun.
And no, we have fun.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just saying it's I think, you know, people have a lot of expectations or an idea of what a relationship should be. And sometimes you just need to let it happen. And that's okay. You know?
That's great advice.
Mine's a little different.
No.
Mine's more like, I think just like live in and also enjoy the moment and like the memories and the times. Like if I go through my camera roll right now on my phone, I think I have like 35,000 photos and videos, and they're all from like the last 11 years of everything that we've done. And it's so crazy because it's almost like sort of depressing sometimes to think about it, because it's like we were doing all of these things. We were struggling, had like, you know, nothing, living in New York, trying to figure out how to survive, or this place or whatever. But it was all a part of like the journey, you know, and we weren't living in that moment. We were just in survival mode. So you don't live in the moment. And then one day you're 11 years later and then you're married to somebody and they turn over and they get like a notification, like, here's where you were 7 years ago. And you have a snatched waist and like a skinny ass. And they're like, do you remember when you looked like that? And you're like, no, because I didn't enjoy it because I didn't live in the moment. So yeah.
I was talking expectations. And
Okay. No, but seriously, it's like truly just enjoy it. Live in the moment. And all of the hard stuff you figure out along the way, those aren't conversations. Like, I don't agree with people who feel like they need to have conversations like right out of the jump on a first date or a second date. And it's like, we have to get to like the real hard stuff. It's like, you will figure those things out. But really, is this somebody who you can picture yourself like waking up to and laughing with? Can you deal with conflict resolution? Is there like a red flag that we don't know about? Is this person one day, like when you have an argument over something stupid because you missed your turn going down the highway and now you have to wait for the next rest stop, are they going to rip your head off and like start screaming at you? You know, like you figured those little things out that really affect you and how you maneuver along the way. And people want to find out all of that right out of the jump, you know, especially in today's time because everything's so accessible. But enjoy it, figure it out. And then if they're not your person, then you drop them. That's the universe. You know, they're not supposed to be around anyways. And then if they are your person, you go get married. You start a family. Get a prenup. HelloPrenup.com. That's it. You know?
Thank you so much for being here today. Where can listeners find you?
Go ahead.
Oh, well, we're on YouTube. It's Up and Adam. We have 2 channels, Up and Adam Channel 1, Channel 2. We have live streams. We're also on TikTok. And we just launched a brand new website called Up and Adam Live that kind of puts everything in one place. You can watch all the videos, you can listen to our podcasts, and read some really great articles. We're not breaking news, but we have a lot of great reads. We call them reads because we have a lot of opinions, a lot of great writers on there. Even HelloPrenup has given us some great content and insight into prenups, especially right now with what's happening on Bravo all over. You know, it's very interesting to read. So yeah, YouTube, TikTok,
Instagram, you know, our podcast does really, really well. So just everywhere. Like, you won't get rid of us. We're kind of everywhere, whether you like it or not. Like, sorry, Adam and Jason, here we are. But yeah.
Well, thank you for being here. This was too much fun.
Thank you.